This episode is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 seller of games and gaming accessories. And GatheringMagic.com, the #1 resource for Magic the Gathering news and articles.
Hi, my name is Miguel, and this is my Krond of the Dawn-Clad deck. Welcome to my Krond of the Dawn-Clad deck tech. Because Krond has such an aggressive mana cost of 3 white and 3 green, it is very important that we get all the colors we need as soon as possible. So let's start off with the mana base. I have 37 lands total, starting with 11 plains, 7 forests, and as many duals as I can reasonably fit in here. I have the green-white bounce land, Guildgate, Manland, Filterland, Fastland, Shockland, Checkland, and Command Tower. We also run the Storage Counter land because we make a lot of excess mana in this deck sometimes, so it's nice to put it somewhere. We have Temple of the False God, and Reliquary Tower because this deck can draw a ton of cards. Now onto our poor man fetches. We have Terramorphic Expanse, Evolving Wilds, Crozen Verge, Grasslands. Also, because we draw so many cards, I decided it'd be a good idea to put the cycle lands in there, because sometimes you just don't need all these land drops. Secluded Steppe, and Tranquil Thicket. Now, because this is an enchantment-based deck, we don't run many artifacts at all in this deck. But what's a commander deck without Soul Ring? So we have Soul Ring. And that tops off our artifacts. By the end of this video, you will see I don't run any Rampant Growth, Explosive Vegetation, or Land Ramp spells in my deck, because it is an enchantment deck after all, and nothing's worse than having a whole bunch of auras in your deck with nothing to enchant. So, to help us with our ramp, we also have mana dorks, like Birds of Paradise, add 1 of any color, Avacyn Pilgrim to add the white, Llanowar Elves to add the green, and Arbor Elf, which is significantly better than all 3 of those because it can untap a target forest, and you'll see I have land enchantments in here. So, Arbor Elf can essentially tap for 3, sometimes even 4 mana by himself. Quirion Elves, 2-drop, to add 1 of either color to my mana pool. As I said before, this deck can draw a ton of cards. So, this is our draw package. Argothian Enchantress, 2 mana, 0/1 Shroud. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card. Femeref Enchantress, 2 mana, 1/2. Whenever an enchantment is put into the graveyard from play, you may draw a card. Mesa Enchantress, 3 mana, 0/2. Whenever you cast an enchantment, you may draw a card. Same thing here, Verdruin, except green, 3 mana, 0/2. Whenever you cast an enchantment, you may draw a card. Enchantress Presence, whenever you cast an enchantment, draw a card. The new one from Theros block, 4 mana, it's a 2/2, but it says whenever this or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. And Kor Spiritdancer. There are 35 enchantment total, but this card says whenever you cast an aura, you may draw a card. And you might think, oh, that's not that good because you don't get to hit it off all your enchantments. But there are 23 auras in the deck, so odds are I'm going to be drawing the card either way. And if Krond ever gets tucked or anything like that, this is a good backup guy because he gets +2/+2 for each enchantment on it. Now for some more enchantment-based creatures, we have a 3 mana 2/2 Nomad Mythmaker. Tap a white in him, put target aura from your graveyard into play, attached to a creature you control. Umbra Mystic, 3 mana 2/2. Auras attached to permanents you control have totem armor. Academy Rector, 4 mana 1/2. When it dies, exile it, search your deck for an enchantment card, and put it into play. Totem-Guide Hartebeest, 5 mana, 2/5. When it enters the battlefield, search your deck for an aura card, shuffle your library. A Johnny's Chosen, 4 mana, 3/3. Sort of like a mini Sigil of the Empty Throne. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, you get a 2/2 cat token. But this says if the enchantment you cast is an aura, you may attach it to the token. Hero of Iroas. Aura spells cost 1 less to cast. 1 mana, 2/2 with Heroic. Mesa Enchantress. 3 mana, 2/2. Gets +1/+1 for each other enchantment in play. This is where I start getting other creatures to help Krond in case Krond either gets too expensive to cast, or gets tucked, or something crazy. Mind control, something happens and I just lose my general. Mesa Enchantress is a good alternative, along with Kor Spiritdancer earlier and the cards to come. We have Aura Gnarlid, 3 mana, 2/2. It gets +1/+1 for each aura on the battlefield and cannot be blocked by creatures with power less than it. Silent Sentinel, 7 mana, 4/6, flying. Whenever it attacks, you may return target enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield. And the last of our creatures is also an enchantment. The Eidolon of Countless Battles. Bestow 4 mana. It is a 0/0, but it gets +1/+1 for each aura and each creature you control. To start off our enchantments, we have Mana Bloom, 1 and X. This card is good early game for some early game ramp, or late game. If you have a few enchantresses in play, you can cast it for X being 0, which is just 1 green, to draw a few cards. Like Mana Bloom, Mirri's Guile is also good either early or late game. Early game to help you get your land drops, late game to just be a free draw spell. During your upkeep, you may look at the top 3 cards of your library and put them back in any order. Angelic Renewal, one of my favorites. If a creature dies, you may sacrifice Angelic Renewal and put that creature back onto the battlefield. Sterling Grove, one of the stronger enchantments in the deck. All other enchantments you control have Shroud, or pay 1, sacrifice Sterling Grove, search your deck for an enchantment card, shuffle your library, and then put the enchantment card on top of it. Aura of Silence. Artifacts and enchantments your opponents play cost 2 more, or you can sacrifice it to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Sigil of the Empty Throne. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Mirari's Wake. 5 mana. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever you tap a land for mana, you may add 1 mana to your mana pool of a color that land could produce. This card is really powerful because not only does it essentially double my mana, it makes Krond a 7/7. So even without being enchanted, he is a 3-turn clock. Because Krond isn't the fastest deck in the world, it does take some time getting him online up and running. So we have a couple stall cards. Blind Obedience. Artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped with Extort. And my 2 favorite enchantments of the deck, Ghostly Prison. Creatures can attack you unless they pay 2 for each attacking creature. And Super Ghostly Prison, Sphere of Safety. Creatures can't attack you unless they pay X, where X is the number of enchantments you control. If I have this card in play, odds are you can't attack me unless you pay 7, 10 mana for each creature you want to attack me with. Now on to our mana auras. Wild Growth, 1 green. Enchanted land, whenever you tap it for mana, add an additional green to your mana pool. In the same vein, this only enchants forests, but it can tap for either green or white, whatever color I choose. Fertile Ground, same thing as Utopia Sprawl, but it costs 2 mana and it can enchant any land. Overgrowth, 3 mana, whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, produce an additional 2 green. And now on to the meat and potatoes of the deck, the auras themselves. These first ones only cost 1 mana, which are great because with our enchantresses in play, it's cheap draw power. The first one we have is Ethereal Armor. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. Hyena Umbra, 1 mana, +1/+1, first strike, and totem armor. Spider Umbra, +1/+1, and totem armor with reach for 1 mana. Rancor, +2/+0, trample, and whenever Rancor is put into the graveyard from play, return it to your hand. Spirit Loop, this one has whenever the creature deals damage, you gain that much life, and whenever it's put into the graveyard, you return it to your hand. This works well with lifelink enchantments because I would gain double that life. Spirit Mantle, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and protection from creatures, making Krond unblockable and a 7/7. 3-turn clock, this one's really good. Felidar Umbra, enchanted creature has lifelink, and I can pay 2 to move this around from creature to creature. Probably one of the best auras in the deck. Enchanted creature has hexproof and can't be blocked except by flying or creatures with reach for 2 mana. Fist of the Ironwood. Enchanted creature has trample, and whenever I cast Fist of the Ironwood, I get to put 2 1/1 green saplings into play. Up next is Daybreak Coronet. Although it has a drawback, you can't beat it for 2 mana. +3/+3, first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. 3 mana, Battle Mastery gives the enchanted creature double strike. Unquestioned Authority, draw a card. Enchanted creature has protection from creatures. Ancestral Mask is the big finisher in the deck. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each other enchantment in play. This counts your enchantments, my enchantments, everybody. So say there's 10 enchantments in play. The enchanted creature will get +20/+20. That is a game changer. Snake Umbra. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, and totem armor. Shield of the Oversoul. If I put this on Krond, he'll get +2/+2 and indestructible. He already has flying. Armadillo Cloak. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, and whenever it deals damage, you gain that much life. Once again, doubles with lifelink. Bear Umbra. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. Whenever it attacks, you may untap all your lands. Totem Armor. Eldrazi Conscription. Enchanted creature gets +10/+10 and trample and Annihilator 2. This card's insane. I usually don't ever put it on Krond because this is just fun when you put it like on a Birds of Paradise and just blow them out with a 0/1. Now on to our spot removal. We have Swords, exile creature, Path, exile a creature, and our board wipe, Winds of Wrath. Destroy all creatures that are not enchanted. They cannot be regenerated. So fun. Alternate win conditions include Replenish, return all enchantments from your graveyard to play, Retether, return each aura from your graveyard to play. Once again, this happens if Krond is beasted up and the board gets cleared and I need some way of recurring all of my enchantments at once. Now for my tutors, we have Idyllic Tutor. Search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And 3 Dreams. Search your library for 3 aura cards with different names, reveal them, put them into your hand. Thank you for watching CMDR decks. Please subscribe and favorite.